Greetings and welcome back to Moving Right Along, a Muppet movie podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we watch Muppet Treasure Island 2 minutes at a time and talk about it a lot. I'm your host, Ryan Rowe.
I'm your other host, Anthony Strand.
And today we have an extremely special return guest here with us. We always love talking to him. Guest, please tell our listeners who you are.
My name is Craig Shemin.
Craig Shemin, Muppet writer, president of the Jim Henson Legacy. That Craig Shemin?
Well, yeah, unless there's another one that I'm not aware of. Yeah, I'm all of those things.
Excellent. We're very happy to have you as we
and writer of the Muppet Treasure Island CD-ROM game.
Yes, that's exciting and extremely relevant, and we want to go in depth on that a little later. So, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
And today we are talking about minutes 65 and 66 of Muppet Treasure Island, in which the chief of the boars introduces himself and the rest of the boars chant boom shakalaka for a really long time.
Or alternatively, boom shakalaka. I think
it goes they back do kind of, some of them are doing one or the other. Yeah. The clip actually starts with an incredibly brief glimpse of Jim and the pirates before then cutting dramatically.
On that topic, I think this is one of the cleanest cuts we've ever had, though, in terms of the podcast. Like,
yeah, if not for those few frames of Jim,
right? It's just like a few frames, but often it'll be like a few seconds of the last scene or the next scene or something, you know?
Right. It pretty much starts with the introduction of this new character, accompanied by a sort of dramatic chord on the score. This is a new character. He's a boar. He has two big scary tusks sticking up from his lower jaw. He's dressed in this ornate sort of tribal outfit with leaves and feathers. There's a skull on his headdress. I had never noticed that before. That's intimidating. He says to our heroes here, "Howdy, Voo, Stinky Froggy Man and friends." Now, I don't know, is Kermit stinky?
No, I think that everyone from the outside world to this boar creature is probably stinky.
So maybe it's not even literal.
Yeah,
it's just
I think that's the thing. Yeah.
They think everyone is a stinky outsider. All right. And then he continues, "I am High Priest of the Boars." So yes, here he is. There's a lot to talk about with this character because in the months before this movie was released, the Hormel Company, the makers of Spam lunch meat.
Let's be clear, Minnesota's own Hormel Company.
That's true. I discovered that in my research for this. Yeah.
Austin, Minnesota-based company.
Are Minnesotans particularly proud of that?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's like a Spam museum in Austin, and they like I was just at the state fair this past weekend, and there's like a big Spam booth. You know.
Okay. Have you been to the Spam museum?
I have not, but I've been to the Spam booth at the state fair. So.
Okay. Do they have like deep fried Spam or? Yeah,
they have a variety of Spam dishes and also merchandise.
Okay. Oh, merchandise, you say? That's gonna.
Yeah, you can buy like hats and T-shirts.
Yeah. That's going to be relevant to this legal case. So, yeah, Hormel sued Jim Henson Productions over this character. They originally claimed that Spam infringed upon and diluted their trademark on the Spam lunch meat. So, Craig, you were at the Henson Company at this time.
I was.
What do you remember about this?
Well, it was big. It was big news. And, they had to bring in the outside attorneys because, our company had attorneys, but our company's attorneys were like, is this contract okay?
Right.
But they had an outside firm. I think there was a lawyer named Carol Simkin who was involved in this. But everyone was pretty confident that this was parody. And
right,
because the whole thing about infringement and is that the purpose is to create confusion in the marketplace,
right?
And there was, we were not selling luncheon meat, and we were in no way competing with Hormel. So I think everyone from Peter Shuby, who was, I think at that time, I don't know if he was president. He was not president. He was like VP of Business Affairs, he was pretty confident that this was something that was not an issue, but it created an enormous amount of publicity around the movie.
Yeah, there's a lot. If you just search, or if you have newspapers.com and do a search, I think reporters had a lot of fun just coming up with headlines and puns about pork and ham and
and
like
if
that.
you look at, you can read the lawsuit summaries and the decision. As basically, it was it didn't last very long. I think there were like 2 or 3 days of arguments where, and then the request for injunctive relief, or whatever they call it in legal terms, was dismissed. And I think there was an appeal, just because lawyers just generally appeal everything.
Yeah.
And the appeal affirmed that Henson was within its right to parody, because, I think one of the cases that Hormel made was, this is an ugly, dirty beast with this name.
So the quote, I actually found a lot of great information on a website called casetext.com that I'll link to in the show notes. But it quotes Hormel as describing Spam as evil in porcine form.
Yes.
Which is pretty dramatic.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think the arguments that were being made were like, people like these characters, and even at the end of the movie, Spam was one of the gang. He was he was redeemed, even though they were not really bad guys. They were just imposing at the beginning.
Yeah, that's true too.
The what's really funny is that the years later, the CEO of Hormel appeared on CBS Sunday Morning, and they did a whole thing about the history of Spam and Hormel, and they're showing clips from Monty Python, and they're like, spam a lot, and that. And they were saying, well, you guys sort of have become sometimes the butt of the joke, and the CEO is saying, yeah, I guess, we started taking ourselves too seriously at one point. And I guess the low point was when we sued the Muppets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he said, we really realized after that, when you're suing the Muppets, maybe you're taking yourselves too seriously and you got to laugh with the jokes. Of course, he's saying that after he lost the case.
Right.
They lost the case. What are they going to say?
Yeah. And it did make them look silly. So
it made them look very silly,
yeah.
But it gave the movie, I think, a lot of publicity. As they say, you can't buy that kind of publicity.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people who think that whole thing was created just as a publicity gag.
Oh, like it was staged.
Yeah, but it certainly wasn't, because lawyers made a lot of money doing that. But the upside is that years later, I was writing the Muppets character encyclopedia.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the guidelines from Disney was that you can't use any characters that are based on real people. So that's why the Muppet Elvises aren't in it. Pamela Henderson isn't in it.
Right.
Jim, Frank, and Jerry Muppets were not in it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I asked, well, but we can use Spam. And they're like, oh, yeah, you can use Spam. That was in court. It was decided.
Yeah, it's established. Yeah.
But that was sort of like, hey, that's great. But yeah, that was, no one thought that Hormel was going to, be as serious about it as they were,
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that they appealed. So, what I found mentioned that the court relied on the testimony of an expert in children's literature named Anne Devereaux Jordan, who pointed out that Spam is a positive figure in the context of the movie as a whole, even if he is not, quote, classically handsome. So, I guess, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter that he's an ugly boar.
Well, I would love to, what's it like inside these Hormel factories? Are they classically handsome beasts that they turn into?
I mean, I guess that depends on your perspective, but. And then, so the appeal, it seems like, was focused on merchandise, because Hormel was trying to make the case that merchandise of the character would be confused. Like people would confuse it with spam merchandise. And I have no memory of this. Apparently at the time they were selling stuff with a character named Spam Man.
Spam Man, yeah.
It was a can of spam with arms and legs. It seemed like something I would remember.
I think it was a bit of a reach, and I don't know how many of those were actually in the marketplace or if it was like sold at one location at the Hormel factory.
Okay.
I don't know because I don't really recall seeing a lot of Spam Man stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he wasn't as big as the Noid, let's put it that way.
Oh, definitely not as big as the Noid. No, but who is? And then, so yeah, Henson's response, or part of Henson's response to this, was that any merchandise featuring spam would either include the image of the character accompanied by his name, or just the image of the character, but never just his name. So there would never be anything that just has the name Spam without also including an image of the characters, just to make sure that nobody would think, oh, this must be a licensed product by Hormel.
Well, I mean, the thing is that, you know, when they were writing this, and Jerry and Kirk and James Hart worked on this too. Yeah,
that's right.
When they were writing this, I don't think they sat around and said, hey, let's try and steal some of Hormel's goodwill.
No, of course not.
To create this character. You know, they figure, hey, it's a wild boar. Let's give him a fun name. Let's call him Spam.
Yeah, and with the apostrophe even, which I guess is sort of like, it kind of sounds vaguely like some sort of native name.
Yeah, and one of the pieces of evidence, I didn't find this out until I was getting ready for this podcast, is Hormel apparently submitted that, you know, some stuff from Henson that didn't have the apostrophe.
Oh.
And one of them was the script for the Muppet Treasure Island CD-ROM.
Huh.
And, you know, I want to take this a moment to apologize if it was any of the material that I prepared. But I was pretty sure that I put in the apostrophe. But they did note, and it was pointed out to Hormel, that it wasn't, you know, anything that would have actually been seen by the public.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a scene direction or a note of which character was speaking. But, you know, but I was pretty sure I used the apostrophe.
I'm sure you did.
So I apologize.
All right. If any Hormel executives are listening to this.
But I do want to reach out to the Hormel people. I'm glad you're taking yourselves less seriously now.
Yeah, that's nice.
Even if it's only after the result of this lawsuit.
Right. Yeah, that's a nice resolution. And then I do think it's hilarious that a year or less than a year later, you have Spamela Henderson on Muppets Tonight, which is almost like, aha, you couldn't get us. We're just going to do it again.
It was sort of like a little poke in their eyes.
Yeah. And then on Muppet Wiki, I saw that the character appears in the video game Muppet Race Mania from 2000, but he's called a Pig Chief. So maybe just playing it safe, even 4 years later. I don't know. Yeah.
I think that also, unless there was a reason to poke the bear, I figured that's just part of the merchandise that they were talking about.
Yeah, and probably nobody cares that much about Spam that they're going to say, wait a minute, that's not his name. So,
I mean, it is an accurate description of his species and job.
It's true. He is the Pig Chief in this movie. So, yeah. All right. So I think that's pretty much the story of.
I did work on Muppet Race Mania. I have very little. I have very little recollection of it, but I think that was primarily a PlayStation game.
I think it might have only been on PlayStation. Yeah. And the interesting thing about that, it came at a time when so many of the recasts hadn't really been decided yet. So there are certain characters who I think were voiced by Muppet performers that one time and only that time.
Yep.
Did we say that Spam is Kevin Clash? We did not.
No,
right?
not yet.
So that's okay. So you were planning to say it?
I had it in here somewhere. Yes, but thank you for reminding me.
Well, there's another. That's another meat connection because Kevin Clash is from Baltimore, which is home to the SK Meat Company.
Oh.
Which is another company that created ham and pork products that the Muppets were associated with.
Yeah.
That's right. And SK Meat still exists, I believe. Correct?
It's some form, yeah. They're owned by another meat company.
Sure.
I have seen SK meat products when I have visited my in-laws in the Washington D.C. suburbs, and I really regret not having bought them to just like taste test them for a.
Well, they're made up to a standard and not down to a price.
Right. I want to taste the difference quality makes.
This podcast is brought to you by SK.
It is now, yeah.
And Hormel. Hi, Hormel people.
Yes,
we're big fans.
Sure. You know, I don't think I've ever had Spam. Maybe as a kid. I don't know. Anyway, so any other thoughts about Spam or the lawsuit? Or Spam, the lunch meat?
Spam the lawsuit. You know, that would be a good show. No, it's just really interesting that, you know, usually it never gets that far. That's right. What was so unique about the case, in this case, that usually there's a cease and desist, or there's some sort of discussion, or there's some sort of disclaimer. You know, when Avenue Q was starting, Henson had some issues, and you know, and it got resolved by posting a disclaimer in the lobby and in the playbill that it's not connected with anything.
Right.
So it's just the fact that it ended up in a courtroom is just really, really unique, and that it ended up in a courtroom before the movie came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Because, I think one other example of like what you're talking about with it not usually reaching a courtroom that the three of us are certainly all familiar with, but listeners might not be, is when Warner Brothers kind of vaguely threatened to sue United Artists over the movie title A Night in Casablanca.
Yes.
The Marx Brothers movie, yes.
The Marx Brothers movie. And then that was settled by Groucho writing a series of funny letters that
although many believe that was solely invented for publicity purposes.
For publicity,
yeah,
right.
I've also heard that might have been a stunt. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by like vague threatening.
But I can tell you that I don't think this was a stunt just because of the sheer amount of money that had to be spent.
It sure doesn't seem like
on attorneys.
And so then, does that mean they could have just sent a cease and desist letter, but instead they jumped?
Well, they could have, but Henson could have responded. I think they may have indeed sent a cease and desist letter, and Henson responded, "We don't agree."
Yeah,
you know, basically, lawyers can. You know, it's always been one of the things that, you know, over the years, you know, stuff that I've worked on has had to go through legal, and you get to talk to the attorneys, and they tell you what problems are. And one of the things that attorneys will say is that, we take the position that this, because as much as you would hope that things are cut and dried in this world, they're not. Lawyers, and if you say, we can do this because of parity or fair use, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's so. Someone else can say, we don't agree that is parity and fair use. And that's when cease and desist letters turn into bigger things.
Right, okay.
But usually they get resolved before, because no one wants to go to the courtroom.
No, I wouldn't think
so. Because what happens is that you can lose.
Yeah.
And what happened to Hormel is that not only did they lose the case, but they sued the Muppets.
Right. It's bad publicity.
And that's not great publicity for them. And that, you know, years later on the CBS show, the CEO recognized this.
Right.
But why didn't they recognize it before? No one in the room of attorneys said, you know, maybe we shouldn't sue the Muppets.
Yeah. And good for Henson, though, because I think he only says his name one time in this movie. I think it's only spoken out loud once. So it would have been easy to just cut that, but
people don't want to, you know, it's a tough thing, because what they teach the attorneys, and it was told to me once or many times by Peter Shuby and other people at Henson, is that when you have a trademark, it's your responsibility to vigilantly defend it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Hormel was doing, or at least that's what they started out doing.
Rather than establish a precedent where they
because once if
to
you don't defend your trademark when it's infringed, Later on, there's an infringement that you do want to defend. One of the, then the other side can say, well, so-and-so did this and they didn't do anything. And so-and-so did this and they didn't do anything. So obviously it's not that important to them.
Yeah.
So it's a tough situation where you do need to defend your trademark, but you have to be aware when it's a parody and when it's not, when
to take it seriously,
but it's a risk anytime you go into the courtroom. There was a case, I'm an Abbott and Costello fan, and, I know that there was a fairly long hunk of Who's on First that got used in a play, And to God, about the evil puppet. And they did a good chunk of Who's on First in this. And the estates of Abbott and Costello took the play's producers and writers to court because it was done without permission. And the play's producers and writers are saying, well, we're doing it in fair use. We are using a small excerpt relative to the thing. It's being presented in a different piece of art. It's transformational. There are like 4 different fair use indicators.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the estates of Abbott and Costello lost the case.
Oh, okay.
Now, what they do by losing that case, that opens up other creators to incorporate
things.
Yeah. Now, if they hadn't brought it to court, then maybe they still would have been able to protect their ownership in other places. But, you always run the risk.
Yeah.
And then you also, the other thing that Hormel isn't aware of is this whole Barbra Streisand situation, and that's referred to in law, where I think it was Barbra Streisand felt she was insulted by someone and she sued them, and no one would have known about it.
Oh yeah, I think they call this the Streisand effect. Right? Yeah, it brought attention.
Yeah, the Streisand, and no one would have known about this insult had Barbra Streisand not sued over it.
Yeah,
because it just would have gone away. It would have gone into the ether, and it was in a small publication or something. But
I want to say they had published photos of her house, maybe.
Oh yeah,
from
maybe,
the outside, yeah.
And by suing, you get more and more publicity, and I think that's part of what happened with Hormel too.
Yeah,
that this character would have just sort of gone into the background, and he was in one scene. He wasn't going to be in a lot of merchandise.
Yeah, makes him a lot more notable than he would have been otherwise.
Yeah.
So, speaking of this character, the next thing he says to Kermit, Gonzo, and Rizzo is a line. I did not double check this on the subtitles on Disney Plus, but it sounds like, "You mucho wickedness, go trespass on island. Now you suffer the wrath of our queen. Boom shakalaka." So I guess he's just being
sounds about right.
Yeah, he's speaking some sort of broken English. And then as he speaks, the camera pulls back and we can see this cool temple set. There's many more boars and many more torches because, of course, this movie is full of fire. There's just fire everywhere, as I keep pointing out. They must have built so many of these new Muppet pigs for this movie because the design is different from the traditional Muppet Show style pig. Although there are a few of those that you can see here too, but they just have this, I don't know even how to describe it. It's a different look, like bigger snouts and bigger chins.
Yeah, I think Ed Eith may have worked on this.
Okay.
Ed Eith was a designer who came on board to sort of help do a lot of the stuff that Michael was doing and worked on designing product. We were in what was called the creative services department. So we were, Ed and I were working for Michael.
Michael Frith.
Michael Frith, yeah.
Cool.
And I think Ed, because Ed was definitely doing some design work on Wobulous World. So I think he was doing some of the designs on this. Michael was also involved, directly in a lot of this.
Right.
But yeah, one of the things about doing a movie is you get a budget to create
Yeah.
so many puppets.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't realize this, building a puppet is very expensive, and specifically a Muppet, because you're talking about $10,000-$15,000 for a character, because it's you're paying for the labor, the materials, maybe $50-$100 worth of foam and stuff, but it's the labor of the Henson workshop, and the Henson workshop tags on an overhead because they have to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
But when you're doing a feature film, when you're doing a TV show, you have a certain amount of money budgeted for characters that you have to amortize throughout the course of a season. Mm-hmm. That's why when you see Muppet puppet shows and puppet shows of any kind, you very seldom see a pilot if it's done on a Muppet level. They will maybe build one or two characters to do a presentation, but there was not a full pilot done of Bear. They built the puppet. They did a little presentation that was shot at the Henson Carriage House.
Okay.
And because in order to build all of those characters, it would create an enormous budget for the pilot.
You're making a commitment, yeah.
Yeah. So basically you build one or two, we built like one or two puppets for Webulous World. They pitched it to Nickelodeon, and then they buy the 20 episodes. And then you can amortize the cost of building your cast across the whole season. And what we did on Webulous World, there was like, they created a certain amount of background characters, and then every other episode we could build another puppet if we needed to. But when you're doing a feature film, you have usually you have a generous budget.
Yeah.
And you're also rebuilding your existing cast of characters. Usually they will make new Kermits and new Gonzos and everything because they have to match shot to shot.
Yeah, right,
so you can't have a Kermit of two slightly different shades if the dye mixture is off, because you're going to be throwing a Kermit across the screen and having a second Kermit come up.
Right.
So they have to match exactly. So they will usually build a batch of the existing cast of Muppet characters, and they'll build, so they usually budget a generous amount of money to create the puppets.
Yeah, from what we've heard, that's the reason there is a Thog puppet now, is because
exactly.
the Muppets 2011 movie had a budget that would allow to rebuild Thog.
Yep. That's pretty much the way it works.
Yeah, that's cool. But I feel like we haven't really seen these boars a lot after this. After this movie and the sing-along video that came out.
I think you may see them, but they
might just be in the background.
Redress them. They're wearing suits now.
No, that's true. I might not recognize them.
Because that's what happens. It's like the bears. One of the bears from Muppets Take Manhattan becomes Bobo down the line.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing gets discarded.
Right.
Things will return.
Yeah, I'm sure they're out there.
And I think one of the boars, Brian's character from
probably
from the glitter. What's it called? I can't remember the pilot he did, but
no, I know
when he and
Tinseltown.
Billy, Tinseltown.
Yeah,
I think one of the characters there started as a Treasure Island.
That's probably true. Yeah, that sounds right. So the Rizzo is terrified. He says, "Terrific. Captured by crazed wild pigs and sacrificed hideously before a pagan altar." Gonzo says, "Are we lucky or what?" So Gonzo not only loves pain and danger, but now he's just craving death.
Well, you're telling me that Rizzo is afraid and Gonzo is excited?
That's what's happening.
About pain and hurt?
That's what's happening.
This movie just keeps coming up with the exact same joke.
Well, don't most movies do that? I mean,
yeah, that's true. See, I'm just being too cynical again.
I mean, you look at the classic Planet of the Apes. We get it. The apes are smart. The humans are dumb.
Yeah, and you love those movies, Anthony.
Yeah, but the fifth one has Paul Williams and John Huston in it. If this fifth movie had Paul Williams in it again,
And Claude Akins too, right? And James Gregory
too. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, James Gregory. Yeah, wow, man. See, battle. We should have done Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
You just want apes instead of pigs.
Yeah, we should have done Return. What is it? Return to Beneath the Planet of the Pigs.
Oh, right. Yeah, the Muppet Show Sex and Violence sketch.
Yeah,
the reverse of that. Yeah,
yeah, which Piggy was built for.
Yes.
So
it all goes around in a circle.
It just
like Planet of the Apes.
Yeah,
that's right. That's why the Muppet Treasure Island gang also went back in time to the 70s and met Ricardo Montalban. I don't know.
Sure.
That happens in the third Planet of the Apes movie.
Well, and read the memoir of Henry Kissinger too.
There you go.
That Henry Kissinger joke. A lot of guests have mentioned that on this season.
Well, the connection
in people's minds.
Connection to the Muppets.
Yeah, it was
Alex Rockwell.
Alex
Rockwell, who worked for the Muppets and still occasionally does. She's married to Henry Kissinger's son, David.
Yeah, that's wild. So, and then I did just want to mention, this is the only note in this episode that I have from the June 1st, 1994 draft of the screenplay. In that draft, Gonzo's response to Rizzo here is, "You don't find fun like this in a Flintstones movie." So I guess the Flintstones movie had just come out or just about to come out in June of 1994, but I'm glad.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the one of the sort of backhanded jabs is that the Flintstones movie was notorious for having had like 40 writers.
Oh yeah. Right.
It also, and I don't know if this would have anything to do with putting that joke in the movie, but it has Creature Shop effects.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
and
that may have been a reason for taking the joke out of the movie.
Right, but also like famously disregarded the work. Like Harvey Korman as the Dictabird, they ended up like just rewriting a lot of his dialogue, and the lip sync doesn't match.
Oh yeah,
and all this stuff, and it seems like it's not the Creature Shop's fault. Like it was post-production rewriting stuff,
right.
But it looks sloppy as a result. Yeah. So maybe they were annoyed about that too.
Yeah, that could be.
I don't know.
That was going on. Yeah, at that time. So Spam tells them they violated the sacred island, and then Kermit speaks up and says, "We mean no harm to your culture. We embrace all creatures of differing nationalities." Spam cuts him off. He says, "Silence. Bring forth. Boom, shakalaka."
Another joke about PC culture, right? In this movie.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. I figured you would pipe up. I wasn't sure what to say about that, but it does kind of sound like, like it's like, haha, it's a joke that Kermit is making an effort to talk about accepting other cultures.
Well, not only that, but that it's like the natives don't care. Like he gets angry at Kermit for trying to be inclusive, right? Like,
yeah.
It feels very like this is a dumb thing to say, and you can cut this if you want.
Okay.
But it feels like that thing on Twitter where you see people who are obviously white men being like, as a black woman, I'm voting for Donald Trump.
You mean
or whatever. This joke
forgetting
being like
to log into their other fake account?
Yes, yes. And this feels like, three white gentlemen being like, the natives don't care about PC culture, only well-meaning white people do, and they're dumb for it, right? Like, I don't know.
Would
I think it's more about I don't care about anything you're saying.
Yeah,
we're gonna do this because you have to remember who's the. We know now, but we didn't know then, and
right.
Kermit and Gonzo don't know then who their ruler is.
Right.
And she is pretty well known for having her own mindset and not really listening to what others are saying.
That's true.
And she may have taught the boars that attitude.
Yeah.
The karate chop first and ask questions later.
And now that you're saying that, I'm just realizing that's probably why he said howdy vu to them.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
He's picked up French from his queen. Makes sense.
That's one of the little hints.
Yeah.
That Jerry, Kirk, and James, it's like a little bit of
foreshadowing.
Breadcrumbs on the trail.
Yeah, nice. Gonzo, I don't know if I said this already. Gonzo says that can't be good. So then, yeah, they decided to bring on boom shakalaka. This phrase.
So, but before we get to the chant, can I say one other thing real quick?
Yeah.
We see Link Hogthrob bang a gong.
Yes.
Here, right before they start chanting.
Right.
And that delights me because Link Hogthrob also bangs a gong in Muppets Go to the Movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Where it's the recreation of the J. Arthur Rank logo.
Right.
Exactly.
As J. Arthur Link. And then it's before Nephew of Frankenstein, which is not the kind of movie that J. Arthur Rank would release, but I still love it.
Yeah, no, and that special, they come up with spoofs of every studio logo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's fun.
So and that must be intentional, right? That it's Link again. He already did that in the special. Like,
yeah. And it's just fun to see Link on screen in this.
Yeah. Yeah. He doesn't have any lines, obviously.
Yeah, he won't be cast for a while.
Quite a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it 2011? Is that the first time we heard him talk? When he's in the Barbershop Quartet? He's probably in Race Mania or whatever, like you said, right?
I'm not sure.
I think that there were probably... I don't know if the recasting was the reason we didn't see him for a long time. I believe when I wrote the Muppet cooking show, the Muppet's Kitchen, we wanted to do a bit that had Hogthrob and Strange Pork, and I was told that the puppets were not in decent condition and we didn't have the money to rebuild. So I think for a long time you didn't see him just because he wasn't in good enough shape.
So
to be
just
seen.
like Thog, maybe that was when they rebuilt him. There's a bear on patrol in that series, though.
Yes,
but he's just not in it.
Yeah, because we just did Bear on Patrol by himself doing a lineup with an old lady.
Oh, okay.
We did, it's like I get in touch with the shop and I said, do we have the Bear on Patrol uniform? And they found the original Bear on Patrol.
Original, that's great.
The only thing they couldn't find was the badge, I think, that went on the hat, or one of the badges. So if you look closely, he doesn't have the badge on
I don't know if anybody noticed. I shouldn't be surprised at this point, but I'm just always delighted to hear these stories about, like, oh yeah, we still had this thing.
The best thing when we did the Muppet Christmas Carol. I know this is a Treasure Island podcast, but we did the Muppet Christmas Carol 30th anniversary event at the D23 Expo 2 years ago. And I was putting that together for the D23 people, and we were going to do a music performance. And they were able to find not just all of the costumes and wigs. They had Piggy's actual wig. They found all of the stuff. 30 years old, still in great condition. But at the last minute, I found, oh, by the way, not only will you have the main performers, but you'll have access to a few extra right hands and background puppeteers. So we were doing part of the song where we had the vegetables singing, and even the vegetables don't like him. Yeah. And I said, can we get the Muppet Vegetables and have them come in and sing? And not only did they bring in Muppet Vegetables, but they brought in the same vegetables from Muppet Christmas Carol. So yeah, they take great care of the stuff. And Danielle Obinger and people over at Puppet Heap watch after everything and take care of it.
Wow, yeah, I love that. The same vegetables. So yeah, I was just about to go in a little bit on this phrase or this name, boom shakalaka, which is derived from boom shakalaka. I think most people, or at least people who saw this movie in 1996, were aware of this phrase. I'm pretty sure I first heard boom shakalaka in the arcade game NBA Jam from 1993.
100 same.
When absolutely you hit multiple shots in a row, the announcer goes boom shakalaka.
So can I say a very silly thing about that? When we have a pizza place by our house called Parkway Pizza here in Roseville, Minnesota. It has a statue of Bigfoot outside. Stop by. It's the greatest. And inside they have Marvel vs. Capcom and NBA Jam. Arcade games for free. You don't have to pay to play them.
Wow.
They just have them. And anytime we go in, and there's a button on the NBA
But now they're going to
Jam
be busy
console.
all the time. You won't be able to get in there.
Yeah,
It's true. It's true.
Just their demand.
But there's a button on the NBA Jam console that you can just hit it, and it says "Boom Shakalaka." And so anytime we go in that restaurant, my kids, my son Miles especially, makes a beeline for that button and just presses it over and over.
Oh, I bet.
So yeah, that's why
it had an origin before that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is a Wikipedia page called Sha-kalaka, and according to that page, it originates in the song "I Want to Take You Higher." It's written before 1968 by Sly Stone and recorded by Sly and the Family Stone in 1969. The page notes that for decades, the lyrics of that version of the song have been incorrectly sung as "Boom Shakalaka," but it's actually "Boom Lakalaka" in the original version of the song. And then the following year, 1970, Ike and Tina Turner recorded a cover of the song, and they sang it as "Boom Shakalaka." So that's how it got into the public consciousness. And then in the 90s, I think I don't know which came first, actually. Either NBA Jam or it's also in the song "Whoomp There It Is" by Tag Team.
Right.
They chant "Boom Shakalaka, Shakalaka, Shakalaka." So for some reason, "Boom Shakalaka" was just in the air.
Also, I remember it in Stripes.
Oh, yeah?
Well, at the end of the drill scene where the platoon is demonstrating that they have trained themselves, when they're at the end of their march, it's "Boom shakalaka laka, boom shakalaka laka, boom shakalaka laka, boom."
Okay.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So possibly a reference to "I Want to Take You Higher" there?
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah.
But I think it was, I believe it was used by some basketball players, and that's why it ended up in the game.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I think that I remember hearing someplace that it had to, there was a similarity to the boom hitting the rim and the shakalaka of the ball dropping through the basket.
I can see that.
That it was a boom shakalaka, that it was an onomatopoeia of getting the spheroid into the hoop. I'm not a big sports person, but I think that's the general idea behind the basketball game. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. You can tell that you're not a big sports person by your use of the phrase "getting the spheroid into the hoop." I love it.
That's it.
I love it.
You're not wrong, though.
Well, I wouldn't have used hoop if I knew even less about sports. At least hoop is correct. I would have used the ring-like structure or something like that.
Sure.
Everything I know about basketball, I learned from watching the Harlem Globetrotters on the Wide World of Sports.
Oh, yeah.
On the weekends.
I truly, because you mentioned being an Abbott and Costello fan earlier, I was expecting to hear everything I learned about basketball. I learned from
Here Come the
Co-eds. Yeah.
Wow.
No, that's everything I learned about the WNBA. Yeah.
Right, of course, of course.
But yeah, it's just a catchy phrase. It's fun to say. I assume the writers maybe thought that it kind of sounded like it could be the name of a Hawaiian queen.
Yeah, and I think that though this chant was not written by them, Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil worked on the songs for this, and they were sort of songwriters of that general era of the 60s and 70s,
That's
I
true,
think.
yeah.
So I think that some of that may have been inspired from the work that they had done.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there's a credit for this.
I didn't recognize. I think it was Hans Zimmer do the music. I think he may have done.
He did the score.
Yeah, so I think it had to do with his part of the work.
And you can sort of definitely like the music when the music swells and.
But I was also curious about how sometimes it's boom shakalaka and sometimes it's boom shalakala or something.
Boom shakalaka.
The different shakalaka. And the different pigs are doing it differently just for fun.
Yeah, so I always felt like it starts out as boom shakalaka and that's like its own thing, but then it like transitions into the more familiar.
Well, I think maybe that's the
pronunciation.
Joke.
Yeah,
maybe
right.
That's the joke. They start out with this other sounding thing, and then it morphs into the song reference.
And then you kind of go,
the audience.
Oh, I get away. That's what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, it's from NBA Jam, right? Like,
well, this would have been before. When was the NBA Jam? That was
93.
93. So it was a few years before this. Yeah.
I'm just thinking. I don't think that the people that were writing this were big sports guys, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, right. No, that makes sense, though.
I guess I would probably be surprised if you told me that Jerry Jewell was a big fan of NBA Jam, the arcade game, but you never know.
But I was also be surprised if you told me Jerry Jewell was a big fan of Whoomp There It Is.
Right. But that was
which
like,
is like
kind
the
of
other,
all over pop culture.
I suppose so. Yeah.
That was a little more ubiquitous.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so for the next 70 seconds of this clip, essentially, the boars are just chanting the name Boom Shakalaka or Boom Shakalaka. It starts after Link hits the gong with these tiki pig heads carved into the rock.
Which we saw in the opening number, too.
Yeah, same ones. These are fun, reminiscent of the Enchanted Tiki Room at Disney theme parks, as we may have mentioned in the opening number. A bunch of pigs run out playing drums. For a second, we see Gonzo chanting along with them. He's just having a good time, not too worried. And then we see the rat cruise passengers who are all sitting at tables under these lanterns. They're having fun too. One rat says, "These tropical floor shows are so exotic." And his companion says, "Yeah, and the food is to die for." So they're having a great time while their cruise director, Vizzo, is, fearing for his life over there.
That's true.
Yeah.
That joke feels like I can't explain it. You might think I'm ridiculous. That feels like such a Ryan Rowe joke. Like that joke feels so in your wheelhouse to me, and I'm not sure I can explain why.
You can't explain.
But there's something about these floor shows. What was it? What's the line? These floor shows are so exotic.
These tropical floor shows are so exotic. Yeah, and the food is to die for.
Yeah, it's just it's like you occasionally like to put on the character of like a tourist in New York City, right? You'll like do your Midwest tourist voice, right? And
that's a character.
Yeah, Ryan will talk
from
about
the Midwest, so.
Well, you know what they say, New York frame of mind or whatever.
I did do that when you visited me in New York, yes.
Yeah, and this feels like that to me. I think that's what it is.
Okay. All right, I'm a rat tourist.
Yeah, there you go.
Interesting. People out there, listeners who know me, tell us if you agree with Anthony's assertion here. So, they just keep it up. The chant gets increasingly loud and tense. And then there's an elephant, a real live elephant.
That is great.
That is great.
It really. I don't know if it's ethically great, but it's like impressive to see.
I mean, this is something where
the thing,
Yeah, I mean, we complain about movies overusing CGI today. It's probably a good thing that this would now be a computer animated elephant in a movie.
I think it's an homage to the elephant in Timepiece.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice. I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, the elephant also makes this feel a lot like Prince Ali from Aladdin, right?
Yeah.
Just another like pageantry filled like march in a Disney picture, right? Just a few years before.
And the elephant is adorned the way those elephants were. Like,
and that elephant, Apu is the elephant in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have in my notes that this elephant's name is Lucy. I don't remember where I got that from. Maybe the DVD commentary.
Could have been. And there is a bit of a history of Muppets using real animals in some of the stuff, going back to the Muppet Show and Timepiece, even before that. But I remember, I think it was Jerry Jewell had told me that whenever they would use like a real cow or a chicken on the Muppet Show, they would have, the trainer in England would tell them all these amazing things that the animal was capable of doing. And they would get the animal to the Muppet Show and they would do nothing. They'd like, oh yeah, the chicken can definitely walk around in a circle and, it's like, no, it just stays there, and then it poops. That's pretty much it. No matter what happened, basically the animal would just stand there and then eventually poop.
I mean, that's usually what animals do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just recently rewatched the Julie Andrews episode with the live cow, and the cow doesn't do anything; it just stands there. But that's why it's
Exactly.
funny. Yeah, it's just the Muppets all reacting to it. But the other thing about this elephant being named Lucy, it makes me think of a tourist attraction in Margate, New Jersey, called Lucy the Elephant, the world's largest elephant-shaped building, which is a 6-story wooden elephant that you can walk around inside.
Great.
So,
I love that.
I recommend it to anyone who's ever in the Margate, New Jersey area.
Have you been in there?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Craig, have you been there?
I have not, no. When I visit Margate, New Jersey, I have so many other things to do.
Yeah.
No, I've not been to Margate, so
yeah, Lucy doesn't quite make
I'll put it on my list.
Yeah, you should. So yeah, I honestly find this sequence genuinely exciting just because they keep adding more and more pigs. The music gets louder. There's a chorus that comes in. Hans Zimmer once again doing a great job. All the fire, the elephant. We've talked about, and we will probably continue to talk about, how this movie's portrayal of an indigenous population is probably outdated and potentially problematic by today's standards. But this sequence to me does succeed at making me like it, I'm impressed by these boars. I feel respect for these boars seeing all this pageantry.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Eventually, they cut Kermit, Gonzo, and Rizzo loose and push them down, so they will be genuflecting when the Queen makes her entrance. Unfortunately, that is where this clip ends. So we'll have to wait.
I wonder who it is
to meet the Queen. Boom, shakalaka. Any other thoughts specifically on these 2 minutes or this whole sequence? Craig, starting with you, especially if you have any thoughts on Piggy's entrance.
Have I mentioned that there was a lawsuit?
Yes, I think so.
Okay,
you did.
As long as we covered the lawsuit. No, I think it's a really fun build-up, and it's a sort of a scene that has to happen to get from one place to another, and they do it very nicely.
Yeah, it's fun. Anthony, any other thoughts?
I think that if this was a Muppet movie of a different kind, I think the chant would have turned into a musical number. If this was a Muppet movie that came directly after, like, Muppets Take Manhattan, there would have been a bunch of, this would have been a more conventional musical. And this is really a movie with some songs. And the songs, are sort of few and far between. But I think that the chant could have developed into more of a funny song.
Actually, it's very easy to see that as a full-blown musical number. Yeah,
but I think that as they, when you're in the 90s, they're starting to get away from doing Muppet movies as musicals. I think the whole movie business is changing and evolving, and I think when they had done Christmas Carol, I want to say the last big successful movie musical was probably Little Shop.
That sounds right.
So it was live action. Yeah.
Well, other than I mean, I think
other
it had
than
probably
Disney,
been people had put it into a category of musicals are for kids.
But I think that with the Christmas Carol, you almost need the music because it's a pretty grim story without it. And with Treasure Island, it's more of a swashbuckling adventure where it doesn't need to be musical. So I think there are how many songs that actually get sung in it? Like 4 or 5? Or?
Maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah.
In this one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 6.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Shiver My Timbers.
Let's count them up.
Yeah.
Something Better.
Something Better.
Sailing for Adventure.
Sailing for Adventure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cabin Fever. Professional Pirate.
And
Love Let Us Hear.
Yeah. So
6.
It's still a decent musical, but I think probably half as many songs as you have in Muppet Movie and Christmas Carol. But yeah, I think they were sort of segueing into movies that aren't musicals.
Yeah, well, which the next one, of course,
Yeah.
does not really have. It has
It has like
sort
two,
of musical
yeah,
numbers.
but they're both based on existing songs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. And the Muppets really only sing one, which is Celebration.
Right.
They don't sing Brick House.
Brick House, they're just kind of
the
dancing
Commodores.
through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
But don't get ahead of your next podcast. So.
No, yeah, we'll get there. Anthony, any thoughts? Any other thoughts on this? These 2 minutes?
Now, I have one brief note from the Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is there are no native tribe. There's no native tribe at all in the novel Treasure Island. It does not exist. So that is not from the book, as listeners probably know. But
Picky.
I felt like I should note it. Well, that's it's interesting because on Christmas Carol, it was very easy to go through and talk about how it compares with the book because it matches up pretty closely. Yeah. And on this one, it doesn't. So it's just a lot of like, this isn't from the book.
Right. But that's a pretty bold creation of the writers, that there were no, like, it was just Ben Gunn stuck on the island by himself, and they created this entire culture of new characters. So that's a pretty creative move on the part of the writers of this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if you see anything like that in any other adaptations of Treasure Island.
I don't think so.
Okay, then in that case, Craig, we like to ask all our guests 2 questions. The first one being, what is your history with this movie? Which I'm sure you'll have an interesting answer for.
Well, I was there.
Yeah.
When it was being done, not in England, but I was certainly dealing with a lot of the publicity efforts, and I was working on the other Muppet CD-ROM when we were doing this, and they were shot at the same time, the video material with Muppets inside and the Treasure Island. But my main connection with the movie is doing the CD-ROM, which we'll talk about.
Yes,
we
will. So, yeah, we will be talking about in the next episode, a special bonus episode. And then the other question, where do you rank it among all the other Muppet movies? Again, might be difficult for you to answer being so close to it.
I don't know. I like it. I think it probably, I rank the first 3 Muppet movies as highest.
Sure.
Then Christmas Carol. This would probably come after Christmas Carol.
Okay.
And then the rest.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. All right. And then with that, we can wrap things up for this week. Craig, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And we will be talking more about the CD-ROM.
Can we mention some stuff that's happening?
Yes, absolutely. What do you have?
I just want everybody to check out all of the exciting things happening at the Museum of the Moving Image. By now, it's been announced, so check out all of the screenings that are scheduled for October and November, as a very special person to the Muppet world is being celebrated at the Museum of the Moving Image.
Okay, that's exciting. So yes, definitely go check out the upcoming events at the Museum of the Moving Image. And
next year you'll have another Sam and Friends book to look forward to.
Oh, cool. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's called the Sam and Friends script book, and it collects about 60 of Jim Henson's scripts and a couple of Jerry Jewell's scripts into a annotated and historically sweetened. If you don't know who people are, you can learn about them in the marginal notations. So it'll be formatted in a way where you can get all the jokes.
Yeah, good. That's important. That's exciting.
And that'll be coming out next year to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the premiere of Sam and Friends.
Yeah, wow. And that'll be the perfect companion on every Muppet fan's bookshelf to your previous Sam and Friends book.
Yeah, which is available even as we speak from Bear Manor Media.
Yeah.
If
anyone listening to this doesn't have that book, why not? What are you waiting for?
Why not? And check out samandfriendsbook.com for an offer on how you can get a signed book plate if you have the book.
Oh, there you go. All right. So listeners, seek all that out. You can also find Tough Pigs on the internet everywhere. We're all over social media. We're on TeePublic and Patreon. We have a Discord server. I'm on Letterboxd at Movies Are Neat. Anthony's on Letterboxd at Zeppo Marxist. I'm on Blue Sky at Me Ryan Rowe. Anthony's on Blue Sky at Durwood Clapper. Craig, what's going on with your internet presence these days?
Well, there's craigshemin.com, and there's, I think, out on the Instagram, craig.shemin, but I don't post a lot. And you can find me there and various places.
Sounds good.
But if you can, everything you can read about it at craigshemin.com or samandfriendsbook.com.
Cool. So everyone go check out those websites and tell everyone you know, including Hormel's legal team, to listen to this show and join us again next week for another episode of Moving Right Along. Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka.